maybe he was sabotaging himself. That's. I mean, I've worked in the correctional system over 10 years. I've seen a lot of behavior exhibited by the inmate population. I have worked with inmates, quite frankly, who feared leaving the institution. Maybe they felt like they weren't ready. Maybe they felt like if they left, they would get into more serious trouble. I don't know. And please understand that I'm speculating here and trying to respond to your question. I don't know, but given the circumstances, it appears that he acted very purposefully and that he understood that he would be discovered and that would be unhelpful to him in terms of seeking any early release from prison.
Governor,
so I don't know for sure. The answer is.
Given the scrutiny the program was under, why was the alcohol left accessible?
Well, Mark, I think a part of a pre-release program is trying to get people prepared for the kind of circumstances they're likely to face once they are outside the institution. And as I said, this particular person has been a good cook and a good chef, and his goal was to get out and work in that kind of setting. So it's very likely that if he were to be out of prison and get a job, that he would be exposed to those kinds of environments where alcohol was available.
One last question from me, Governor, and it goes back to the conversation we just had the other day. Booker, in his sworn testimony, claims that he had a meeting with you about this very sort of thing after Crawford fell through the window in 2008. Mm-hmm. He says he asked you, or put it to you, that we're talking about safety and security here. He says that you told him, leave it just the way it is.
He is
question number one.
Well, first of all, Mr. Booker was not truthful when he conveyed that particular impression of the meeting, and I would invite you to talk to others who were present at the same time.
So
now, Mr. Booker can say what he wants to say. That does not necessarily make it a truthful statement.
Understood. What did you know at that point? What do you recall? You told me a couple different things. You said that there was a meeting, but it was blown out of proportion, mischaracterized, I think was your word.
Yes.
What do you recall about saying we're going to leave things the way it is?
I never said we're going to leave things the way it is. I said I want to convey to you that I think this is a good program, it's an important program, and I want it to continue. There have been a lot of false things said. For example, it's been reported, for example, that I or Francis stopped the 30-second checks on inmates. There's absolutely no truth to that. To my knowledge, 30-second checks were not being made at the time that we occupied the governor's residence, and there was an ongoing program. So there's been a lot of things said that are, quite frankly, I know to be totally inaccurate. And sometimes, things can be misstated, and then that misstatement is further misstated, and so on. But I can assure you that I never said what Mr. Booker says I said.
Governor, how should we characterize the review that's being done by Reggie Wilkinson? Is this a review to determine whether the program should continue at all, or to make recommendations for continuing it in
well, I want the program
form?
to continue, but that doesn't necessarily mean that it will. We are asking Mr. Wilkinson to conduct a review. I think he'll probably involve others in that discussion, and then they will bring forth recommendations, and I'm not putting any constraints on him as he undertakes this review. I continue to think it's a good program. It's been there. There have always been problems in past administrations, with inmates. I can assure you that I think the scrutiny is heightened at this point for a variety of reasons. But I think if you go back and research the history, you'll find that when, as I've said, when you're working with people who have, certain levels of dysfunction in their lives, you're likely to experience disappointment. And that is certainly true when you're working with an inmate population, especially a younger inmate population where there is oftentimes immaturity and a lack of proper understandings of the importance of following rules and regulations. So, it's disappointing, but as I've said to many of you many times, I think there is the reality that there are thousands and thousands of people incarcerated in our prisons in Ohio, over 50,000. Most of them for fairly short sentences, people who are incarcerated and will very quickly be released back into society. And so we need to do what we can to help them prepare to do that. And that's certainly a major goal of this program. But it's also, a major financial benefit to the state of Ohio, because they do a lot of work and have always done a lot of work at the governor's residence, and that's been helpful.
We have time for
Governor,
one more question.
would you authorize the release of that note to us?
I cannot, well, I have no reason for you not getting the note, but I'm sure it's in the hands of the investigators at this point. So I can tell you that once the investigation is complete, that I'll do everything I can to make sure that the contents of that is made available to you, certainly. But I think it's appropriate at this point so that those who are investigating to make those decisions. Yes.
Is anybody under review for the breakdown? Are you looking at that? Is that part of Mr. Wilkinson's review also? How they slipped through the cracks or whatever it was?
Well, I think they'll probably look at everything. Like I said, I haven't talked to Mr. Wilkinson. We asked him last evening to take on this responsibility. I've had meetings all morning, meeting mostly with these families. My chief of staff did meet with him, but I made it clear that Mr. Wilkinson would be in charge of the review. I've known him for a long time. I have great confidence in him, and so I'll be happy to see what he ultimately brings me. I think he's likely to involve others as a part of the effort to review this program.
Thank you, Governor.
Governor, you said the other day you don't want to see things always looked at through the political lens. I understand that your critics are saying that this incident sort of validates the conclusions in the Inspector General's report. Are you concerned that this will become part of the broader political discussion here?
Mark, there were a lot of things in the Inspector General's report. I don't know that this has anything to do with the accusation that Kathy Collins-Taylor told a lie and was untruthful. So parts of the Inspector General's report may be relevant to what's happened here. But the part of the Inspector General's report that I took a strong objection to was, in my judgment, picking and choosing pieces and parts of interviews with a number of people and pulling that together in a way that concluded that Kathy lied. And I think, here again, Mark, you've heard me say it, I urge you to read the transcripts. I know it takes a lot of time, it's a lot of detail, so, but the Inspector General in his report, he has the ability to make an accusation, but that's never been adjudicated in a court of law. And so I think it's just wrong to assume because the Inspector General said so that it's true. It's Kathy hasn't had a chance to defend against that accusation in a way that that I think most of us would want to be able to defend ourselves. And so in answer to your question, I think the parts of the report that I most objected to, that being that Kathy was untruthful, I just continue to believe that was not the case.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you all.